All right, Eltoro, let's continue with the season previews here. A team that's absolutely fascinating to me, the Texas A&M Aggies. And before we do, remember, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. Takes you no time, costs you nothing, helps us out a lot. We appreciate it, okay? The Texas A&M Aggies last year go 11-1 in the regular season. They make the playoffs. They get bounced early, and it's okay. And something occurred to me today, El Toro, when I'm on the treadmill. I'm at the gym trying to get my sweat on, right? And I'm on the treadmill, and I'm thinking about this show, and I'm going, Texas A&M had a pretty soft schedule last year. Of the 7 teams that they beat in the SEC last year in the conference schedule, now, look, all credit for beating Notre Dame. That was a tremendous 1-point win against Notre Dame. But in the conference, Missouri was 4-4 in the conference. Every other team that they beat in the conference had a losing conference record. They played one team with a conference record above 500. That was Texas, and they got beat by 2 scores. Then, of course, they get in the playoff. They play Miami. Crazy game with the wind and everything. And they get beat there. And the media just is gushing over Mike Elko. And in a way, I get it because I like Mike Elko. I liked him when he was at Duke. I thought Texas A&M made a good hire when they hired him. And I think he's doing a good job running a tight ship, good program. But I haven't seen enough because those kind of schedules where you're playing 7 of your 8 conference opponents have a 500 or below record, that's not going to happen every year. And it doesn't happen this year. Where are you at on the Aggies?
I'm very high on the Aggies, Jay. And I'm going to tell you something about last year, man. When you can go down to LSU and beat them the way that they beat them, and at night, Jay, that is, man, that right there got my attention by Texas A&M. And I think this year, man, they got a lot of great things going for themselves, man. And number one is the defense. I think they had the best secondary in the SEC without question. Maybe one of the top ones in college football with their 2 skilled safeties. And also in the defensive line, I think they are reloading there in the linebacker position. Man, I know this guy personally. The great hire that they made with Travis Williams, who's ever in his linebacker room, I know they're hunting and they are biting, Jay. I'm telling you, this guy here, man, has such impact and influence on players, man, and to get them to play at a very, very high level.
I had forgotten that Travis had been hired over there, and that's one of your guys, man, Travis Williams. So, and look, there's a lot to like about Texas A&M. But I think sometimes because they had such a great year last year, I think people can overlook the question marks because they do have some. They're replacing 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line. They lost their offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, now the head coach at Kansas State. Elko's a defensive guy, so it's not like he's going to, partially take over the offense. They made the hire from in-house with Holman Wiggins, the wide receivers coach, who's never called plays before. And you've got a young quarterback in Marcel Reed who's still developing, especially as a passer. Now, run in and lock it up. He's as good as there is. He's as good as you'll find on the dual threat. But passing still a little inconsistent on there. We saw it last year when they played South Carolina. You remember they fell behind 30 points or whatever at the half. They came back and won in the second half. Marcel Reed was atrociously bad in the first half of that game. And amazingly good in the second half of that game.
He responded.
And that's kind of Marcel Reed, right? There's times when you go, man, this guy's great. Then there's times when you go, no, what's he doing out there, right? So I worry about A&M, replacements on the D-line, replacements on the offensive line, a new coordinator with a quarterback who's still developing as a passer and a game manager. And I just wonder with the tougher schedule, because, I look down on there, they've got Tennessee at home. They're on the road at Oklahoma. They got Texas at home. They're on the road at Alabama. I just wonder, do we see this team that, a lot of people think is a real contender? Do we see them drop to like a 9-3, 8-4 with all of this change happening?
With every team you just named, Jay, they all have their own issues too. And I just think that the Texas A&M defense will give them the edge in every one of those games that you just named, man. Because I'm going to tell you this, Jay, and it's never going to change in football, in my opinion. Defense wins championships, and the defense they have, and I think with Marcel Reed, I think a guy like that, man, is a playmaker. He has tremendous playmakers on the receiver end. You know what I mean? The biggest question again, Jay, like you mentioned, the offensive line. I think they can get the offensive line intact, Jay. I think they could be a very, very serious contender, not only in the playoff, but also on the run to win a national championship.
A&M, another one of those Texas teams with oil money. They spent some money in the portal, man. I mean, they're not leaving anything to chance, right? We're not throwing out a bunch of redshirt freshmen on that offensive line. We went out and got some guys. So, like I said, I like Mike Elko. I am always concerned when a defensive-minded head coach, a guy who's not an offensive-minded coach, promotes an offensive coordinator from within, for the simple reason that if it's not going well, it's Shane Beamer last year promotes Mike Shula from analyst to offensive coordinator, but Shane Beamer's a special teams coach. So when the offense started going bad, he couldn't step in there and fix it. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I worry that if Holman Wiggins is struggling to get his sea legs as a play caller, Elko's not the guy to step in there and fix it. So I just wonder how that's going to go. I'm a little concerned. I think A&M is my number one candidate to regress, not to a 6-6, not to a 7-5. They're too talented for that. But an 8-4, 9-3, and maybe not get that playoff spot that everybody thinks is coming their way.
One of the key things I think that new offensive coordinator has advantage of is that he's familiar with the players. And he is a player's coach. Man, Jay, I watched the video on this guy, man. I've seen this guy. He was running the running back drills, receiver drills. I mean, he was all over the place. And the kids will respond to him. So I think that the hire in-house was great from that, just from that perspective, because he has a relationship. And I'm going to tell you another thing, too, now. This guy has been around the block, and he's been around some great offenses and great programs, like at Alabama. You know what I mean? So I think this guy, man, I think the hire is good, Jay, and I think that the defense is going to win them ball games, going to force turnovers. Now, the offensive job is not to turn the ball over. You know what I mean? And so I think they can do that, Jay. I think they'll be a very, very surprising team and can find themselves in the college football playoff. And,
if Marcel Reed can just be more consistent, if he can be more consistent with his play, then I think you're right. Then they are a playoff team. Like I said, without Colin Klein there helping to guide his career, I'm a little worried about that. But you know what? We'll see how it goes on A&M. We're not making our predictions yet, but we'll see how it goes on there.